So guys, a couple of months ago, Final Fantasy XI turned 18 years old, which is crazy. The game is still going pretty strong and it gets regular updates almost every month. Before everybody asks in the comments, yes, it's still a subscription-based MMO. That's the nature of the game. It's not going to change. And a few more months ago, I made a video about the 11 reasons why it's still worth to return to Final Fantasy XI in 2020. You can check it out. So this time I'm going to do things properly and ask you if you want to see more of this stuff, please do subscribe and, you know, the like, whatever, all that kind of stuff for YouTube jazz. So I can eventually get the channel monetized and keep bringing you guys more content, probably about Final Fantasy XI. I even have an intro this time, so check it out. Anyway, these are 11 reasons why I think it's still worth to play Final Fantasy XI, especially to come back to Final Fantasy XI, okay? We all agree that it's an amazing game. We get the subreddit and the Facebook group where people are always asking, hey, is it worth it? Should I come back? Is it still a monthly subscription? Yeah, it's still a monthly subscription. Yes, it's worth it. Yes, you should come back. That's the short answer. There are a few things that, if you remember Final Fantasy XI back in the day, I mean, let's be real, it was a little bit of a tedious game. I mean, there's some quests and some stuff to do that was just an insane grind. And they've kind of modernized all of that. Also, there's a lot of mods now from the player base that allow you to get really nice HD graphics. Of course, they're nothing compared to, you know, like Final Fantasy XIV. Oh my God, he said Final Fantasy XIV. I don't know, I've never played that game, so I can't say if it's trash like everybody is saying or not. I don't know. I just really don't get modern games. I don't like them. Okay, so now it's time for the part 2, the points from 6 to 11. A really cool thing they added a few years ago is an event called Ambiscade. Cool thing about it is that they update it every single month. It requires very little time to do. You can solo it. I mean, when I came back to the game, I just grinded and grinded and grinded Ambiscade and, you know, got better and better and better gear that helped me out. And within a few months, I was doing endgame content. Or you can do it with a party with 4 or 5 more friends and do very difficult. It's something really cool, okay? You should check it out. If you're coming back to Final Fantasy XI, Ambiscade is probably gonna be the first event you're gonna be doing after you get to level 99. It's really important. You get great gear, you get great upgrades, and also you can get some points that you can convert into various types of currencies, you know, like the stuff that you used to get from Dynamis to make relic weapons and all that kind of stuff. And in general, it's probably one of the best sources of money making in the game right now. So Ambiscade, point number 6. Point number 7, I'm gonna go a little bit on the emotional side, is the final, if you wanna call it expansion, it's not really an expansion, I guess it's an add-on, Rhapsodies of Vana'diel. If you're a diehard Final Fantasy XI fan and you played throughout all of the expansions up to, I don't know, 10 years ago, you're missing out on Seekers of Adeline, which is another really cool expansion that opens up a couple more jobs that weren't in the game before, such as the Geomancer and the Rune Fencer, which is my main, by the way, and is a really cool job. And then the last expansion, that is Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, guys, it brings every single thing together. So you're gonna see all the characters that you met throughout the various storylines of Final Fantasy XI, and it kind of brings, you know, a conclusion to everything, and it's really cool. I really recommend coming back to the game, even maybe just for a month, to just end the game and do Rhapsodies of Vana'diel. All the friends I've had that have come back had loved it and had thanked me and said, yeah, you know, it was worth it. Try it. It's really cool. Okay, reason number 8 is something that has changed the game a lot. In the part 1 video, there were a lot of comments about some sort of nostalgia that people have around how hard Final Fantasy XI used to be, which is true. Final Fantasy XI used to be extremely hard and time consuming. Another thing that you have to take in consideration though is that people didn't really understand a lot of mechanics in the game. Because yes, they made things extremely easier, and it was a lot harder and it took a lot more time to make money and get better gear and better weapons, but still, most people playing the game were noobs and they couldn't really do anything solo. Now, pretty much anybody in very little time can do a lot of stuff in the game. And this is in no way a bad thing because there's still a ton of content that requires a lot of expertise and good, knowledgeable people to do stuff. But if you're just coming back, you have no idea, you can do most of the stuff solo with a new system they introduced a few years ago called the trust system. Basically, trusts are NPCs that help you out through the game in battle doing stuff. There's a white mage NPC, there's a red mage NPC, there's a tank NPC, there's a DD NPC. Okay, all DD trusts sucks. So this heavily favors if you want to be a DD like a Dark Knight or a Samurai or something like that. But the trust system is really cool, and also you get to actually play along with your favorite characters in the game. So you can have a full party, have fun, and do a ton of content just with trust. They obviously did this because for a while the game was kind of dying. What happened now is that in recent years, undoubtedly Final Fantasy XI has been getting a kind of new surge of population. And there are a few really active servers, like there's a server like Asura. I would dare to say it's almost like Prime Day Final Fantasy XI. And there are some smaller servers also around where you can still have a good time. And with the addition of these NPCs, trust, you can get a ton of stuff done. Trust me, it's another reason why it's really worth to come back to Final Fantasy XI. So reason 9, okay, this is gonna be a little bit controversial, but one of the really cool things that has been going on through the years is the development of various add-ons done by the community. Pretty much everybody already used Windowware unless they were playing, of course, on PS2, which, by the way, PS2 compatibility, same as Xbox 360, has been dropped a few years ago. So you can only play Final Fantasy XI on PC now. I proudly started playing Final Fantasy XI on Xbox 360. I don't know if proudly is the right word, actually. It kind of sucked. But now you can only play on PC. And if you play on PC, I'm gonna dare to say that Windowware is kind of a must. Okay, let's be totally clear. Square Enix has actually done a really good job. So you can now play completely vanilla and do all the gear swaps and macro swaps fairly easily in game. So for those diehard hardcore fans that are saying, oh, you're using Windowware, you're cheating. You can not cheat and you can be competitive, because up to a few years ago, let's be 100% real. If you weren't using those add-ons, you either had the infamous JP button or you sucked, man. If you don't gear swap in Final Fantasy XI, you suck. Speaking of which, there's an awesome add-on called Gear Swap, which is kind of controversial because it allows you to do a lot of things that are borderline botting, but it's a really cool add-on. You can check out my streams on Twitch. Shameless plug at Gabeamaru. I'll be honest, I don't really stream that much. I haven't streamed a lot in these past few months, but hey, if I get a lot of new subs from this video and you guys tell me in the comments, I'll start streaming more again. We can hang out and have fun. Or you can check out some of Ejiin's stream. He's on my same server. He's a really cool guy. He's super kind. You can ask him anything. I'm probably gonna link his channel down in the description somewhere. He has a ton of tutorials on how to use all these add-ons and which are the best add-ons. Definitely go check him out. And if you're like a super mega nerd like I am, that's my super mega nerd face. Did you enjoy that? I'm sure you're gonna have a blast programming every little tiny thing. So making all your macros and making all your gear sets. It's so much fun, guys. It's one of the things I've always loved the most about Final Fantasy XI. You should definitely check all this stuff out. Okay, reason number 10. This is one of the most important things that I think they've managed to fix in recent years. I'm gonna call this one balance, because it's balance pronounced in fake Japanese accent, and a lot of people always say that in the Final Fantasy Auction House forums, or the kind of now defunct, unfortunately, Blue Garter forum. Pretty much every job right now is useful. You can pick whatever job you want to do. I'm gonna go out and say that maybe right now the unluckiest job is probably Beastmaster, which was nerfed a few years ago because it was insanely good and it was by far the best DD. Puppet Master is in a kind of awkward situation, but if you want to be completely real, Puppet Master can actually be a pretty decent endgame tank. Now that we have all the wardrobes and we can have so many more jobs, you're not limited to having only like maybe 1 or 2 jobs. You can easily have 5 or 6 and have a ton of gear for those and have them all maxed out and have fun. And you can have maybe a tank or maybe a support job, a DD, of course. Everybody wants to have a DD. Of course, if you're coming back to the game and you want to be a Dark Knight, you're not going to be invited to the endgame of endgame Link show with your crappy, not Relic or whatever Dark Knight. You're going to have to work your way up a little bit. So maybe if you're a returning player, some of the good jobs that are a little bit more rare are, of course, White Mage and maybe Bard. Corsair is a ton of fun because now it melees with 2 swords or a sword and a dagger and also shoot, so it's always fun. Pew pew! Another really cool job that they fixed in the last year is Red Mage. Blue Mage, of course, shines. It's a ton of fun. It's pretty complicated to get into. I used to be a main Blue Mage. The important thing is that all jobs are pretty balanced. So the top DDs are probably going to be Dark Knight, Samurai, and Warrior, as it should be, because those jobs are just mainly focusing on dealing damage. I dare to say that slightly under those, you can find the other DDs like maybe Monk or Dragoon. I would add Blue Mage into there. Thief you can add into there also, but these jobs also have some other form of utility which is going to make them useful in other situations. And of course you have White Mages, all the buffers which are essential in endgame content. Paladin and Rune Fencer are both in a good place. At the moment, Rune Fencer is arguably a lot better than Paladin, but nobody's going to say, oh no, you can't come with your awesome Paladin because only Rune Fencer can do this. As I said, pretty much all jobs are pretty balanced out, which is really cool. Okay, so we're here at reason number 11 now. And just as every annoying YouTuber, I'm gonna ask you if you got all the way here. Thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Please do consider subscribing to the channel and let me know if you guys want to see more content, and let me know in the comments whatever you guys want to see. So if you want me to go a little bit more in detail on some of the points that I mentioned up to now. Okay, so reason number 11 is actually really important. Since the dawn of time, people have been saying, oh, but Final Fantasy is dead now. I remember in 2010 when I started playing, people were saying, oh, but Final Fantasy is gonna die now. Sorry you just started playing now because this is the end of Final Fantasy 11. It's just gonna die in a couple of months. Well, we're in 2020 and I honestly don't know, but I think the game is going really good. And we've actually had confirmation of this, that the game is 100% gonna go on at least until 2022, which is gonna mark its 20th anniversary. And we're gonna have more content and another expansion. And this doesn't even take into consideration that Final Fantasy 11R or mobile thing that they're doing. And I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I have zero expectations on that thing. I think it's gonna be crap, whatever. They should just give us Final Fantasy 11 with updated graphics and maybe some more storylines, and honestly, there's gonna be thousands of players that are gonna keep on playing that for years and years. They confirmed that they have the budget to keep the game alive for even more years. I mean, in a couple of years, people aren't gonna be playing Call of Duty Warzone. They're not gonna be playing Apex Legends. Fortnite is almost 100% gonna be dead in a couple of years. And we're still gonna be playing Final Fantasy 11, which is 20 years old. That's crazy. So the answer is, guys, yes, it's absolutely worth it to come back to Final Fantasy XI in 2020. And yes, if you've never checked it out, do it. If you played Final Fantasy 1 through 14, but were always intimidated by the fact that Final Fantasy XI was online and you had to pay a subscription, all I can say is try it out. It's not gonna be the easiest thing because there's a learning curve to the game. It kind of forces you to build some relationships, which is actually something really, really cool that not a lot of games do. But it's definitely worth it to play it. You're gonna have a good time. And they've made all these changes to make it a little bit more modern and playable. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff down in the comments. This whole video was not about why Final Fantasy XI is the best game ever and blah, 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 which is actually a pretty good idea for another video. This video was pretty much focused on why it's worth it to come back to Final Fantasy XI in 2020. I hope it helped out. Let me know in the comments. If you guys want to be haters and say something, man, I love haters. So please do comment something hateful. I'll be very happy to respond. If you don't like me, if you don't like my accent, if you don't like my hair, let me know in the comments. We're gonna have fun, guys. Oh, by the way, my name's Gabe. You can find me as Galibur on the Ragnarok server. I'll see you in the next video. This is Gabe out. Cool.